Well, you know, when folks talk about retiring in Las Vegas, they usually bring up the endless sunshine, the no state income tax, and maybe a little blackjack on the weekends. And hey, I get it. I've lived here a long time and there's a lot to like. But I'll be honest with you, retiring in Las Vegas is not for everyone. Well, in today's video, I'm going to go over 7 reasons why Las Vegas might not be the dream retirement spot that you've been hearing about. Now, some of these reasons might even surprise you, especially if you've only seen Las Vegas on the interwebs. Hi, I'm Micah Bleecher, and I've helped more people retire in Las Vegas than I can count without breaking a sweat. And that's saying something for July. So if Vegas is on your radar, pull up a chair, pour yourself a cold one, and let's dive in. First up on the list is the weather. And yes, it's red hot, but that's just the beginning. And that brings us to talking point number 1. And we're talking about the heat, the weather, and how hot does it really get in the summer? Now, what's that going to mean for your electric bill? Are certain homes better suited for the heat? How do locals cope with the heat? Now let's kick things off with the biggest and most obvious concern for many people, and that's the summer heat. We all know that Vegas is hot, right? It's in the desert. But I don't think people really get the full picture of how extreme it is until they live here. Now in 2024, Vegas had over 112 days of triple-digit heat, and 36 of those days were over 110. That's not an exaggeration. It regularly gets up to 115, 16, 118, that's common. Now people do say, and I say it all the time, that it's a dry heat and it's definitely easier to take than high humidity. But that said, when it gets up over 115, it kind of feels like a blast furnace or that you're opening a pizza oven. And the heat doesn't just last for a week, it goes on for months. Like during that time, the AC is running constantly. Power bills can regularly shoot up to $200 to $400 a month. If you have a big house and multiple air conditioners, it can be quite a bit higher. Now, if the insulation or you've got an old air conditioner or the windows haven't been upgraded, it can really cost you a lot in monthly power bills. Now, I do want to be fair. Our summers brutal, no doubt about it. I'm not going to pull any punches on that one, but our winters are mild and our fall and spring are absolutely gorgeous here in Las Vegas. People here live for that time of year. Now, I'm talking in the 70s while the rest of the country's freezing. So if you're someone who hates snow, you're probably going to love the weather here about 8 or 9 months a year. So here are a few tips for handling the Las Vegas heat. Stay hydrated, bring water, carry a water bottle. A lot of people you'll see them walking around town with a water bottle. Wear sun protection, a hat, light colored clothing. Sunglasses are very important. Wear sunscreen. I know it seems like common sense. It's just like that Baz Luhrmann song, wear sunscreen. That's very important in the desert. Now, it's very important to get your annual dermatology screenings and get screened for skin cancer. That's something that you need to get checked out. I use Thomas Dermatology. I go in, the PA checks me out every year. Her name's Susie Smith. She's a handsome woman. I got to strip down to my skivvy so she can check my skin everywhere. I don't hate it, but you got to get checked out. Whether you hate it or not, you got to get checked out. Locals here do our outside activities in the morning. Smith's grocery store opens up at 6 a.m. Wow. Park your golf cart in the shade. Drink extra water. Dip your towel in your ice bucket and put a cool towel around your neck. That brings your temperature down by several degrees. Put a sunshade on your dashboard in the car so it's not so hot when you get back. Park in the shade if you can. One of my favorite tips is the indoor walking track over at Sun City Anthem. That place is amazing, and if you're not a member over at Sun City Anthem, you can check out one of our indoor malls like the Fashion Show Mall down on the Strip. Sometimes in the summer, we'll go in there and just walk up and down to get some extra steps in. At the end of the day, I see all kind of old duffers out on the golf course every summer. Yeah, they get their rounds in early in the morning, but they don't let the heat keep them off of that golf course. We kind of get used to it and get acclimated here in Las Vegas. Now, of course, running the AC nonstop can run your power bills way up in the summertime. And that brings us into reason number 2. And friends, that brings us to talking point number 2. The cost of living is rising fast. And we're going to cover how much home prices have increased. Is Las Vegas still cheaper than California? Are insurance and utility costs rising? And what financial perks do retirees get? Okay, reason number 2 is something I hear from people moving to Las Vegas all the time. Many people think Las Vegas is cheap. And yeah, maybe it used to be cheap. We used to have what I call a freebie economy. You know, you could get free this, free that, cheap houses. But let me say this straight up right now. Las Vegas is no longer cheap. That is not the case in Las Vegas anymore. Home prices have gone up about 48 to 50% since 2020. Now, I'm a real estate agent here, so I see it every day. What used to cost $350,000 now now runs about $500,000. And a lot of the new construction communities, well, they're starting in at right around $600,000 in most cases. Some cases a little bit less. Now, people do ask, is it still cheaper than California? Yes, it's way cheaper in many ways, but your car insurance probably will give you a shock. I've read that the average car insurance policy runs about $285 a month, and that's if you have a clean record. They really nick you for auto insurance here. Utilities are also no joke, especially in the summer because your air conditioner has to run so much. It's why many people invest in solar panels. But here's the thing, we don't have an income tax, which helps retirees and business owners. And our property taxes, they're, like I said, about the lowest in the country, about 25% below the national average. They're capped at 3%. And the basis that it starts on is about 35% of the value of your house. So it's not even on the full value of your home. So yeah, it's getting more expensive, but depending on where you're coming from, it may feel like a win. And today I just went and I looked up a random house in Detroit on Zillow. Not a fancy house. I'm talking about a regular house that sold for $65,000 in 2020. Now that's a basic house. Today, that house is valued at about $135,000 in Detroit. That's double. So you tell me where these magical houses are that aren't going up in price. So my suggestion is if you feel like Las Vegas is the place where it's going to make you happy, sell your doubled up house in Detroit and buy a doubled up house over here and make that move because, time is not getting any shorter. I can tell you that. Sometimes we think that Las Vegas is the only place where houses have gone up, but they've gone up everywhere and at about the same rate from what I can tell. And speaking of monthly bills, one of the next things my clients ask me about is the water. Now, friend, that brings us to talking point number 3, and that's the water supply and the strict usage here. So what are the rules around water usage? How do us locals manage it? Are we fined or tracked for overuse? And yeah, it's true, water in Las Vegas is gold. And we are proudly one of the most water efficient cities on the whole planet. Literally every drop that goes down the drain gets recycled. Now, if you have a regular sized home with desert landscaping, you're not gonna notice a big water bill at all. However, if you've got a house like me sitting on a half an acre with 36 really thirsty big trees, you're gonna feel those tiered water rates. It's gonna hurt every month in the summer. And they're designed to discourage heavy use. And those of us with the really large lots and lots of trees, well, we get a little, in Las Vegas, we get punished for that. However, if you have a normal size house, normal size yard with desert landscaping, it's not even something that you're gonna notice. Now, if you buy a home with grass, the water authority will actually pay you per square foot to take it out and replace it with desert landscaping or water smart landscaping. Now, new homes are already being built this way and neighborhoods aren't allowed to use decorative grass around. It's functional grass only. Now, those tiered rates I was talking about, they can get steep. And that's why some folks even install a little device on their water main so that if it detects a continuous flow like a water leak or a hose left on or something like that, it will cut the water off and send you a notice on your phone. Fact is, most new builds come with smaller yards, smaller footprints, and it just doesn't take a lot of water to manage the desert landscaping in these smaller yards. They often use artificial turf, which has come a long way. I was on the original Astrodome turf crew back in the 70s, and I can tell you that artificial grass has come a long way. They even put little brown strands in it to make the grass look real. It's incredible. I've seen it. I've got some in my front yard. It looks beautiful. People compliment our landscaping every time they come over. And done right, it's nearly water-free. And yes, people ask all the time, are we gonna run out of water in Las Vegas? And the short answer to that is not likely. Las Vegas draws from a lower intake point than Lake Mead spills over the dam. So if we ever get into a dead pool situation, meaning that the water is not going over the top anymore, the intake for Las Vegas drinking water is at a lower point. So we will continue to get water in that situation, and we'll still be able to access our water supply. Now, a lot of people think that Vegas off the Strip is a bunch of brown rocks and cactus, and that's just not exactly true. In fact, this next one surprises a lot of people when they finally see it for themselves. And friend, that brings us to talking point number 4. Vegas isn't just brown rocks. What surprises people about the Las Vegas landscape? What outdoor recreation options are available nearby? And how far do residents need to travel for forests, Now, I hear constantly, isn't everything just brown and dusty and dingy and like a desert? And I get it, Las Vegas does have that desert vibe, and you can go out a little bit and it does kind of get pretty deserty out there, but that's not the full story. There are actually a ton of green master plan communities such as Summerlin, Pecole Ranch, Green Valley. Now, these areas have parks, trees, paseos, green belts, walking spaces with grass and tree-lined streets. It's incredible in some of these neighborhoods. It feels nothing like the Strip, and you have to remind yourself that you're actually in the desert. Anthem is another one that's beautiful and has lots of vegetation and trees. We have actually 3 lakes here in town where you can actually experience waterfront living. We're talking about Lake Las Vegas over on the east side in Henderson, Lake Sahara on the west side, and Desert Shores in the northwest. Now, if you love the outdoors, as I mentioned, we're only minutes from Red Rock Canyon and just 45 minutes from Mount Charleston. In fact, in the summertime, Mount Charleston is a great place to get away from the heat. It's about a 20-degree difference up there. It's a fun place to hike in the summer. It is true that people think that the desert's brown and barren, and there are places on the edges where that is true. But once you live here, you see it differently. The colors constantly shift. The mountains go from soft purples in the morning to fiery reds at night. Sometimes the shadows of the clouds lay on the mountains around town and it looks like a paint by number. It's not just scenery, but a feeling. And once it gets into your system, it's hard to live without. So no, you're not just stuck in a sea of gravel and cactus, but you do have to be intentional about where you buy. And that's where an experienced local agent comes in handy. You can call me anytime. I'm the only Micah Bleecher on Google. You can Google me and get my number any time of the day or night. I can't hide from you. I'm the only Micah Bleecher on Google. Still, even with the beautiful pockets of green space, you're never too far from the Vegas tourism, and that can definitely affect your life. And that brings us to talking point number 5, and we're talking about the tourism impact. Does living here mean dealing with Strip traffic? How do the big events affect daily life? So let's talk about something that a lot of people don't think when they're moving here, and that's tourism spillover. Las Vegas gets around 50 million visitors a year. That's a lot of foot traffic, that's a lot of events, and that's a lot of road closures, especially around the Strip and downtown. I had a client that was trying to get home from work last year during the F1, and her ramp was completely blocked off. She felt like she couldn't even get to her own house during the F1. And I hear a lot of people complain about that. She was texting me like, how do people live here? Now, the good news is that you don't actually have to live near the Strip. Most locals don't. Areas like Southern Highlands, Henderson, Sky Canyon are completely separate and far away from the tourist zones. But you can still go and enjoy a dinner or a show anytime you want, and it's just about 30 minutes away, even from the outer lying areas. Let me tell you something though, we complain here in Las Vegas about the orange cones and the construction zones all the time. And then I remember what it's like to drive on the 5 in Los Angeles or in Southern California. I remember what it's like to drive on I-45 or around the 610 loop around Houston. I remember what it's like to be on that Jersey Turnpike going into the Lincoln Tunnel into Manhattan. And I can tell you that I'm not going to be trading in my orange cones or my traffic problems here in Las Vegas for any of those areas anytime soon. But maybe here's some advice. Don't schedule your moving truck during F1 weekend or EDC weekend. It can be pretty rough those days. Now, it's not just the crowds here in Las Vegas, it's also the temptations that can derail even some of the best retirement plans. And friend, that brings us to talking point number 6. Vices are everywhere. Are slot machines really in grocery stores and 7-Elevens? Is it easy to avoid temptation here? Should retirees avoid living too close to the Strip? Now, this one's a little bit more personal, but it's worth talking about, especially for retirees or folks coming here for a fresh start. Vegas is full of temptation, as they say. Slot machines really are in every grocery store, I'm not kidding. And pretty much every 7-Eleven, convenience store, you'll find them. You go grab some milk, you're gonna pass a row of video poker. I don't know if there's a closing time for the bars. I'm not up that late, but they seem to stay open all the time. Buffets and 5-star restaurants are everywhere. If you have a tendency to overindulge, you have to be really careful. I know personally, I blew up to about 220 pounds, from just too many wine tasting and 5-star meals out, having a good time. And next thing, a little bourgeois living, next thing you know, I'm 220. I quit drinking and had to really modify my lifestyle to get myself back into shape. I had a retired couple move here. They felt like it would be a fun place to slow down. 6 months in, they told me they were eating out every night. They gained some weight. They're drinking too much, gambling too much, and they had to really put an effort out to cut back. Now, obviously, that's not everyone's story. There are amazing gyms, yoga studios, wellness centers all over town. You can absolutely live a healthy life here, but you have to create structure. I think I say we're the highest per capita in alcohol consumption. Well, I think we have the highest per capita in gyms here too. We have a lot of gyms and fitness centers. Now, if you're thinking I'm just going to stay away from that whole party scene on the Strip, that's a fair statement to make. But here's what people don't realize about living in Las Vegas full time. And that brings us to talking point number 7, and we're talking about Sin City stereotypes. What's true and what's overblown? What is daily life really like for locals? Are there good, quiet, family-friendly neighborhoods and fantastic 55-plus neighborhoods? I think you might know the answer to that one. And what should you look for in a retirement community here? And now we're talking about one of the biggest misconceptions about living in Las Vegas, and that's that whole Sin City image thing. Look, most people here are not partying every night. They're not hitting their slots on their way to school pickup or doctor appointments. They're working, they're raising their families, they're enjoying their retirement life. The people here live pretty much normal suburban lives. We've got great 55-plus communities all over town. Communities like Sun City Summerlin, Sun City Anthem, Regency, Heritage communities. They're fantastic. These are all peaceful, active neighborhoods with walking trails and all kinds of incredible amenities. Now, most of my clients that retire here barely go to the Strip once they settle in. Maybe for a show once in a while or when family visits, but day to day, they're out in their own neighborhood walking their dog, getting their steps in, going to places that are close by to where they live. So yeah, the Strip's always there, it's always available if you want it, but it's also easy to avoid. Just make sure you buy in the correct area for you, and that lifestyle that you're dreaming of is 100% possible here. Now, if you're still considering Las Vegas for retirement despite these challenges, you're going to want to work with someone who knows and understands these communities and can help you match your lifestyle to the correct community. My contact information is below. You can always Google me. I'm the only Micah Bleecher on the internet. Now, if you enjoy this video, you're going to want to check out my video about inside one of the most active adult communities here in Las Vegas. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, friends. I love you. Peace out. I will see you on the next video.